Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. This is my Law and Theories video series. In this episode we'll explore the tactical genius of the controlling consciousness behind the Flood, the Gravemind, and how he ultimately came to his end. Or did he? In Halo 3, the Gravemind, occupying all of High Charity, crashed upon the surface of the Ark, enabling the Chief to wipe out the Flood's central intelligence completely by use of Installation 04B. But he didn't. The Gravemind was on Installation 05 when we first met him. After setting Chief and Arbiter their respective tasks, he sent them on their way and took this opportunity to take in Amber-clad the frigate upon which Chief, Miranda Keyes and Johnson had arrived at Installation 05, while all of them were otherwise engaged, instead serving in ground operations. It doesn't explain how he made this transition, and more importantly, why he made the transition. The Gravemind is massive and super intelligent. He transferred to Amber-clad to transition again to High Charity and then move on to the Ark. But why put his whole being, and most of his kind, directly in the firing line of a Halo? Why did he not foresee the danger of being in one place rather than spread out over multiple places? He knows it's better to have multiple key mines in multiple locations, so it's harder to destroy the Flood in one fell swoop. He did it before during the Forerunner Flood War, and the entire knowledge of the Flood is stored, so a future Gravemind will know all that an earlier one did. So why the sudden lack of strategic intellect? You've got to understand, the Flood, just as any life, wishes to survive. Making choices purposefully against survival, or that in any way will result in grave harm, is against the nature of all living, or living dead, sentient beings. So choosing to make himself vulnerable to a concentrated attack would make no strategic sense, and as such be totally out of character for the Gravemind. He will have known the risks involved and would have taken steps to avoid them. Why move from one location to another to end up dead? And yes, an entire Gravemind's memories are stored collectively across all Flood, and down to the Flood supercells encoded within them in the form of Flood DNA. So really, as long as a single spore of Flood material exists, the Flood can return. With this in mind, admittedly, yes, failure on any front for the Flood means just a little extra waiting time, because it's near impossible to rid the entire universe of every single Flood spore. But even with this in mind, it's a massive waste of time, energy and resources to allow itself to be put down so easily, and something I'm confident the Gravemind would avoid at all costs. His strategy, at least to what we've seen in game, is completely ridiculous. But it's not just the choice of taking undue risk that makes no sense, it's the logistics of it. The Gravemind is a massive creature made of the accumulated bodies of likely tens of thousands of individuals. Assuming the mass of those bodies is approximately that of a human, notably one of the smallest species alive in the Halo universe, then the Gravemind is approximately 700,000 kilograms at the very minimum, but that isn't including its tentacles. It is referenced that a Gravemind tentacle can grow to be miles in length. Looking at the size of the tips of the tentacles that we see during Halo 2, when the Chief falls into the water, as these seem to be more likely to be the ones that are miles long, we can roughly extrapolate their mass if we make some conservative estimates. So the diameter of one tentacle tip looks to be around 12 inches. If we assume the diameter remains constant, although it likely doesn't, and the tissue density is the same as that of a normal body, then a length of just 4 meters will have the same mass as a human body, around 70 kilograms. There is 1,609 meters in a mile, meaning there is 28,140 kilograms of mass in a mile of tentacle. But the tentacles are miles in length. Let's be conservative at 7 miles apiece. That means there's 196,980 kilograms in one full tentacle. But the Gravemind likely has dozens of these tentacles, so again, let's be conservative and say 10. That totals 1,969,800 kilograms of mass. Plus the Gravemind's body mass is just over 2.6 million kilograms, or 2,600 metric tons. That's a big, beast of a creature, trying to emerge from deep within the Halo ring's interior and somehow climbing aboard in amberclad as it hovered over the library. That amount of weight suddenly being exerted onto the ship's superstructure would likely have crippled it, but had it not, it would have definitely pulled her out of the sky. Even if he used combat forms to take control of the ship and got it to land, the internal structures of the ship would be in the way of his body, especially considering Flood-piloted Pelicans landed in High Charity, meaning the Pelican Bay, the largest area in the ship, would have needed to be nearly empty to allow them to launch. Seemingly, the only way the Gravemind would have been able to fit his massive size into the ship is by building flood biomass in the conventional way. Now yes, that means he could simply move his entire body over to fit this new vessel bit by bit, but that takes time. The amount of time that passes between Chief meeting Gravemind and watching an amberclad arrive in High Charity is little more than a few hours at the absolute most. Could the Gravemind take the ship, disassemble his entire mass, then reassemble within a ship in that time? I highly doubt it. But he definitely had the time and the ability to create flood forms and maybe even proto-Graveminds or two aboard the ship and fill it to the brim with infection forms. Personally, I think he wouldn't have even needed to move across to the ship and instead just infected it with biomass and piloted it to High Charity. With all this in mind, I come to this conclusion. I believe he seeded key mines in amberclad, and then in High Charity to divide his forces over multiple centres of operations. If you include other known flood-infested places in the galaxy, he can talk and communicate through these key mines as if he were there himself. He then altered High Charity systems using his compound intelligence and the collective memories of the consumed, and slip-space jumped High Charity and the key mind to the Ark. This means his attempt at taking the Ark would strategically result in either him succeeding in controlling that one place that could kill him, or simply losing one of his key minds, leaving him free to continue to operate in secrecy. Although Chief was partially successful in his endeavour, the key mind survived by burrowing into the Ark depths. And the Gravemind survived because he was never there in the first place. This makes strategic sense for the Gravemind and makes logical and lore sense on what the Gravemind is and is not capable of. The Gravemind never left Halo. He is still within Installation 05, and we should be worried. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below and I look forward to what you have to say. If you're new to the channel and like lore theories and Halo technology being analysed at insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so next time I put a video out, you're told the second it hits the shelves. I want to thank the Halo community over at Amino for their support of the channel and my rambling blog posts over there. If you're not already a member of Amino, I strongly recommend you jump aboard. Link is in the description. Also, if you really like the channel, consider popping over to Patreon and give whatever support you can over there. It massively helps me out and frees up more time for me to put into this Halo content and drives towards an ultimate goal that I'm sure you'll love. More details on that in the near future. Thanks again everyone. Now go rest your brain.